I've got about 2.5 pounds of clay here on this Medex bat, and I'm just going to press it out into a pretty wide pancake. So the heel of my hand is just pushing the clay out. Now I'm going to open this clay all the way to the bat. And this happens to be very firm clay. You don't need to use firm clay. It's just I'm using it because I found it. And I'm going to open it up with kind of a bevel to the floor. It makes it easier to move clay out if you have a bevel as opposed to a straight wall. So now I'm going to put a little moisture on here. I'll moisten your bat before you move it out so that the clay will stick to it. And now my hand, without my wrist being overextended, is over the clay, and I'm pulling out with my fingers, and my hand is against the clay here, compressing it against the clay. And I'm going to pull it out towards myself, slowly, with a lot of compression. You don't want this clay to lift up off the bat. Don't overextend your wrists. I'm going to say that a lot while you're here at the village. If it gets off center, just come to the side, compress down and in, and bring it back on center. Now, I'm going to push this whole clay down and out, and I'm going to go out further with it. Going out, and you're going to need what feels like a pretty nice little inner tube of a bicycle inner tube right there. You see that? And I want to stress not to make these tiles too thin. You want them to be about the thickness of what your pots are going to be, because the thickness of clay affects the absorption rate of the glaze. So you want a good indication of what it's going to look like on your pots. So that's going to take a nice little amount of clay. So when you have this clay moved out like this, you're going to push in with this finger, in and down, and start to create a floor. My thumb is holding the outside on center. I'm going to push in and down some more. And don't make this floor too thin. A lot of people, their first mistake is to make the floor too thin, and then it's fragile and doesn't seat well, and then not have the right angle. So I'm going to show you that I'm going to make the whole floor of this thing more than an inch. You see how much I've dedicated just to the floor here? I'm going to push that clay on the center. That's good. Now I've got all this clay out here to make a wonderful test tile wall. The other thing nice about a big floor is on the back side of this is where you're going to write all your information. And so you want a nice surface so that when this test tile is something gorgeous and you turn it over for your information, it's easy to read. So now I'm just going to grab this clay, and I'm bringing the clay up, but I'm also bringing it inward just a little bit. A slight little lean inward will help this not be tippy. So I'm going to do it again. And remember, I want the thickness of my pots. So I'm going to be just a little bit under 1/4 of an inch. And here I go up. Give yourself enough surface to see how this glaze moves on your test tile. So here it is. Go ahead and take a tool and smooth it out like you would have your pot. If it turns out that you know on your pots you're going to have a little texture, then take a tool and put a little texture in the bottom so that you can see how does this glaze break over edges. So there on the bottom half, you see I've put a little texture in there. I want to see how the glaze breaks, and it also works to slow the glaze down from running off the test tile. All right, so that is a gorgeous test tile right there, even walled, nice floor. I'm going to undercut in the front for my cutting wire to get under. There it is. And you also are going to want to wax the bottom of this pot, so give yourself a nice beveled edge for your waxing. Make it easy to work with. You might not wax over it, but you might. It just depends on what you're doing on the bottom of the pot. These textiles can go in all different atmospheres. This happens to be a cone tin iron-bearing clay body Miller 900. So we can put textiles in Glorifred, we can put textiles in Bertha, and we can put them in the Kazagama kiln. Okay, so let me show you real quickly how I'm going to undercut this. So now it's loose off the bat, and in a second video, part 2, I'm going to show you how later when it's set up, I trim it and cut them into slices for all the different textiles. So let me give you a close-up look. See the floor on the inside? See the angle tapering in? See the depth? This from here to here is probably almost 2 inches, so it's going to sit really flat. And it's got a nice height so that you can really see how glaze moves across the surface. So I've got this cut off the bat. It's loose now, and I don't want it to lose its shape, so I'm going to set a bat on top of it and flip this over. Set this down into the bat pins. Lift that bat off. And now I need to just find this a little bit on center. And that looks perfect to me right there. And I'm going to take a trimming tool and I'm just going to clean this up and burnish the bottom. Make sure you do this so when you write on it with your underglaze pencil, it's easy to write your information. So I'm cleaning up the edge that I created for waxing. I'm going to take a needle tool and just clean off this little sharp edge right here. And I've just got my finger under where the needle tool's going down. And you can see it's coming off now, and I hold it till it's completely off. So now I have 2 nice edges, one right here and one right here. And I'm going to take my metal rib and just compress against this floor so I have a nice smooth surface to write my information about what glaze with what colorants are on that tile. Sometimes I don't write all that information and I make a key that has letters A, B, C, D, and what the information is for A is in the key. And then when it comes out and I read what it is, I just write it on after the fact with a Sharpie. But either way is fine. Okay, I'm going to turn this over now, and I'm feeling really good about this, and I'm going to cut my pie in half. And you need a knife with a good long extension and do nice cuts. I'm going to go straight to the other side and cut my pie in half. So I have tools. You can get these tools online. But you might want to use a knife, with a fettling knife will work, but I like this knife a lot. Then I'm going to go to a quarter and cut. And cut. And then I'm going to cut those in half. You can see that out of that 2.5 pounds of clay, I'm going to get a lot of textiles, aren't I? So you might want to throw 4 rings, make tons of textiles, and then bisque them and keep them in a box. So when you're ready to test things, there they are waiting on you. So I'm going to cut those 2 in half. And now look, that is a really nice size. We also make trays, and we'll demonstrate that too, because it's so fascinating to me that glaze can look so different whether it's on a vertical surface or a horizontal surface. So we do the horizontal ones on trays because why not? You can sell them. Some people throw these and throw little shot glasses. So everything that's a test tile can be sold, but you might want to keep these for reference for a while. I dropped that, so I'm just fixing it so it sits flat again. There we go. But if you've got your angle right, it'll be nice and steady. If you make them and they tip over, make some more because you don't want glazed things tipping over in the kiln. They glaze to the shelf and that's just a lot of trouble. Okay, so you might want to take a little time like this and just with a nice damp but not wet sponge, take all the sharpness off your edges. This is a good time when it's soft clay like this but firmer to take a tool, and I'm looking for a needle tool, and just right here with the back of this needle tool, that's not a good job. Let me get a pointed tool. I think I'll look for a chopstick kind of a tool. Let's see, here we go. And right on the back of this clay, you think you're going to remember, but don't command it to memory. Put your 900 right there on the top so you know what clay it is. There's my 900, and I'll always know. I won't be confused because when they're bisque, sometimes it's hard to tell. I got a little air bubble right there. I'm going to pop it. And you can see I still have all this floor right here to write information on. Okay, I'll do one more. I'm going to clean the edges just a little bit. It's just a little bit of compression. I don't overfuss that. You just don't want to cut yourself. And clean the edges just a little bit. Some people, they look like works of art. I'm not one of those people. 900. And done.